Did you know that in 2012, Marvel's The Avengers, the movie, it made over $623 billion. That's just in this year. And then in 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2, that actually made $381 billion. And then the year before that, in 2010, Toy Story 3 actually made $415 billion. That's an unprecedented rate. The movie industry is skyrocketing and people are spending a bucket load of money for entertainment. It reminds me of this verse in the Bible found in Hebrews chapter 11. It says that by faith Moses, when he became of age, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the passing pleasures of sin. Again, that's just kind of a good reminder that sin, it is only pleasurable for a season. It's always fleeting us. You can never grab hold to it. This idea of sin and kind of how appealing it can be and how attractive it is. It's almost as if, we sometimes in our pride and our arrogance, we blame God for how we're so often tempted. We say, if God is so good, then why does he tempt me so much? And I think we need to get down to that very simple and basic principle that God doesn't tempt. It's just the idea that the devil really used some attractive bait. It reminds me of this verse in James 1. It says in James 1:13, let no one say when he's tempted, I'm tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he's drawn away by his own desires and enticed. It's the idea that we have these selfish, these sinful desires within us. Jesus described it as a heart issue in Matthew 5, but we have these desires in us, and then the devil, he uses this attraction, this appeal of sin to kind of catch us. We're the fish, and he uses some very attractive bait, and it's the idea, just like these movies that are out, sin is marketed well. I mean, think about it for a moment. We just completed an election. President Obama was chosen again to be our president in our America, and and right after he was chosen, a number of states legalized marijuana and homosexual relationships and marriage was also legalized, and you can do that thing now. And it just goes to show you that the market for such a huge sin is big, and it's no big thing. Think about it. I mean, alcoholism is all-time sky high. Tobacco use is at an all-time high with young Americans these days, and most often in the teens. Divorce rate in the church is the same as those out of the church. Pornography is sky high, both in the church and outside the church, and often even the leaders of the church are the ones who are plagued by such a sin. And it just goes to show you that our culture has moved over the years into an avenue by which sin is extremely marketed. If you don't believe me, turn on the TV and there's commercials of what you're going to buy to drink, and most of the time it's alcohol. You have Carl's Jr. commercials of a half-naked lady who's eating a hamburger. And it just goes to show you that sin is marketed well. And the devil is all in the details. So, let me ask you this. Have you been a victim of the devil's market on sin? Has he been able to catch you with the appeal of sin? Let me tell you, the appeal is just one step. Yeah, sin might be appealing, but I'll tell you, it's even worse when you experience it. And that's the bait for the devil. He wants you to experience sin so that the appeal aspect of it comes much more easy. Have you been a victim of the market of sin that the devil's thrown at you? something to think about. You know, I'm reminded of King Solomon. Solomon, he was one of the wisest guys on earth, and all of a sudden we read about him in First and Second Kings. I mean, we read about these kings that just threw everything away, and some honored him, and then we actually get to Solomon, who was someone who got all the wisdom in the world, and then he threw it all away. He just washed it all away with sin and women and parties and drunkenness and all that stuff. And then he actually wrote about it in the book of Ecclesiastes. And he summed it up this way. He said, the very last verses in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 13, he says, let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is man's all. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is man's all. God's call for us is to fear him and keep his commandments. You know, David, he reminded us that if we hide God's word in our heart, that's what keeps us from sinning against him. And so what about you? Have you been hiding in God's word? Or actually, have you been drawn to the appeal of sin and distracted by it? Something for you to think about.